In the vast Jin Capital where empires of mortals flourished beneath veils of unseen power, the arrival of a single nascent soul cultivator was enough to stir currents that ran far deeper than gold or glory. Yet Han Li did not come seeking fame. He came for thunder sealed in stone and secrets hidden within space itself. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to keep creating. After some time, Han Li came upon a small and utterly unremarkable monastery tucked away within the bustling sprawl of the city. Time seemed reluctant to linger there. The moss-covered tiles and weathered wooden gates bore the quiet resignation of countless passing seasons. The Taoist priest who presided over the place was nothing more than a mortal, his meridians barren, utterly devoid of the faintest trace of spiritual power. The simplicity of it pleased Han Li. He offered a measure of silver as alms, his expression tranquil, and decided to reside there for the time being. To a man who had traversed storms of blood and thunder, such obscurity was a rare and welcome shelter. At dawn the following morning, as pale light spilled over the city walls and thinned the night's shadows, Han Li departed from the monastery. Before long, he discovered an academy within whose quiet courtyards lingered the unmistakable presence of a cultivator. An academy established in the Jin Capital was no trifling institution. It could not possibly be small nor lacking in backing. Most likely it stood beneath the protection of a Confucian sect, its foundations entwined with powerful roots. Yet Han Li paid such matters little heed. Slipping silently past its outer restrictions, he entered the academy grounds as though passing through a veil of mist. He approached an elderly Confucian scholar and, without flourish or warning, allowed the immense aura of his nascent soul cultivation to unfurl. It was like the descent of a silent mountain. The old scholar's expression stiffened. In that instant, the magic power within his body froze solid as though sealed in ice. Recognizing the boundless depth of Han Li's cultivation, he nonetheless forced himself to step forward half a pace. Maintaining a calm visage, he cupped his hands in salute. "Your presence honors our humble academy senior. May I ask what assistance I may offer?" A faint smile curved Han Li's lips. "You are quite perceptive," he said leisurely. "I have sought you out over a few minor matters. Tell me about the markets within the Jin Capital and about the upcoming auction. As a native cultivator, you should know a thing or two." At once the old scholar replied respectfully, "The locations of the markets pose no difficulty. I shall prepare a map for senior immediately. As for the auction, I do not know much of its inner workings. Is there anything in particular senior wishes to inquire about?" As he spoke, he withdrew a white jade slip from his storage pouch. Spiritual light flickered at his fingertips as he began inscribing the positions of nearby markets upon it. Han Li's smile faded, replaced by calm detachment. "I wish to know the date and location of the auction," he said evenly, "as well as whether any particularly rare materials will appear." The old scholar answered with measured sincerity. "The time and place are widely known. In 9 days, the auction shall be held at the Treasure Shine Pavilion in the Western Market. There will be 2 sessions, one for core formation cultivators and one for nascent soul seniors, conducted separately. Nascent soul seniors may attend the core formation session, but not vice versa." He paused briefly before continuing. "As for the items, I fear I cannot provide specifics. The auction scale is immense, jointly hosted by several great clans. Even insiders are rarely privy to the full list. However, judging from past events, more than 100 exceedingly rare items should appear. Moreover, certain seniors may consign treasures of their own, extending the proceedings for as long as a week." Han Li lowered his head slightly, murmuring, "So that is how it is. The Treasure Shine Pavilion. Senior, the jade slip is complete." The old scholar presented it with both hands. "Please examine it." Han Li accepted it without another word. His spiritual sense swept across the slip in a fleeting glance before he nodded faintly. "Very good. See that you speak nothing of my visit," he added softly. "Otherwise—" A low, chilling chuckle escaped him. Azure light bloomed around his figure like rippling water, and in the next heartbeat he vanished without a trace. The old scholar's eyes widened. His strength seemed to drain from him as he collapsed back into his chair, lost in troubled contemplation. Only after a long while did he extend his spiritual sense across the room and confirm that no one else remained. A heavy sigh slipped from his lips, followed by a wry, helpless smile. After departing the academy, Han Li reviewed the jade slip and made his way toward the West Jin market. The market lay hidden within a remote street in the western district of the capital, concealed beneath a formidable spell formation. To mortal eyes, it was nothing more than a desolate, abandoned lane, dusty and lifeless. But to Han Li's gaze, the illusion dissolved. Behind the veil, hundreds of cultivators moved in steady currents, entering and exiting the shops that lined the street. Spiritual lights shimmered faintly, weaving an unseen tapestry of commerce and ambition. Han Li refrained from sweeping his spiritual sense across the area. With the auction imminent, nascent soul cultivators were certain to be stationed here to maintain order. Hosting such a grand event was no casual affair. With measured steps, he proceeded down the street, his eyes calmly surveying both sides. The West Jin market differed greatly from the southern markets he had seen before. The buildings rose 2 or 3 stories high, their architecture ostentatious yet refined, each structure a declaration of influence. It was clear that the great powers of the Jin cultivation world had established storefronts here to display their wealth and strength. Under such circumstances, there was no need for careful selection. Han Li withdrew a jade slip containing a list of materials and began inquiring at each store. Naturally, every item on his list was exceedingly rare objects, seldom glimpsed in this world, scarcely even spoken of. He harbored little hope of obtaining them easily. His inquiries were merely incidental. In truth, he had another purpose. Participating in the upcoming auction would require a vast quantity of spirit stones. Though Han Li had once possessed a considerable fortune, his prior purchases made under the guise of the masked cultivator had depleted much of it. Now, with a grand auction looming, he found his reserves uncomfortably thin. His plan was simple: locate a powerful, well-established shop and sell several rare materials. Only such a place could afford to pay him adequately. Soon he halted before a 3-story building that dwarfed its neighbors. Visitors streamed in and out without pause. Above its entrance hung a large plaque inscribed with 3 radiant golden characters: Hidden Fortune Pavilion. This was the establishment famed for its hidden fortunate rooms. After a brief moment of consideration, Han Li stepped inside. The first floor was vast, spanning over 100 meters across. 60 handsome Qi condensation servants attended to guests, offering courteous greetings and presenting wares with practiced enthusiasm. As Han Li entered, a young servant approached him with a bright smile, ready to speak. "Stand down," a voice called sharply from a corner. A white-robed middle-aged man had risen from his seat, setting aside his teacup. As he sensed Han Li's cultivation, he hurried forward, smoothing his robes before bowing deeply. "Our hidden fortune pavilion is honored by Senior's presence," he said respectfully. "The first floor likely holds nothing worthy of your attention. Might Senior care to proceed to the 3rd floor?" Han Li's gaze flickered faintly. "Indeed. I came seeking someone in charge." Without further words, he followed the man upstairs. The commotion below erupted at once. "That's a nascent soul Senior. But why does he look so young? Cheshire looks like the hidden fortune pavilion is about to secure a major deal." Whispers of awe and astonishment rippled through the hall. The 3rd floor was far smaller, yet exquisitely arranged. 2 beautiful female cultivators stood in attendance. Upon seeing their manager escort a guest, they immediately began preparing tea. After Han Li had taken his seat, the middle-aged man gestured toward the table with a smile. "Senior, please sample this. It is mistrained spirit tea acquired at great expense. Its flavor is most unique." Han Li paid the tea no mind. With a sweep of his sleeve, he placed a green jade slip upon the table. "There is no rush for tea," he said calmly. "First, see whether your pavilion possesses any of the materials I seek. To be candid, I have already visited many stores and found nothing. I hold little expectation that yours will fare better." The middle-aged man chuckled lightly. "Since Senior is pressed for time, I shall examine it at once. If other establishments lack them, they must be exceedingly rare." He summoned the jade slip and immersed his spiritual sense within. Moments later, surprise surfaced upon his face. Hanlai remained impassive. He had seen such expressions repeatedly. The items he sought were scarcely known, their existence itself uncertain in this realm. The man withdrew his spiritual sense and offered a rueful smile. No wonder Senior's search proved fruitless. These materials are beyond the reach of ordinary shops. As for our pavilion, he hesitated slightly. We possess only a small piece of Thunderspirit crystal. Han Li had prepared himself for disappointment. Instead, a glimmer of delight flashed across his features. "You have a Thunderspirit crystal?" The middle-aged man nodded, though his expression grew cautious. "Senior's timing is fortuitous. We acquired it only recently. However, it does not belong to our pavilion. A nascent soul cultivator, one with close ties to us, has entrusted it here in hopes of exchanging it for other materials. Should no suitable trade be found, it will be placed up for auction." The air in the elegant chamber seemed to grow faintly charged, as though a distant storm had begun to gather unseen beyond the horizon. When Han Li heard the conditions required to obtain the Thunderspirit crystal, he slowly rubbed his chin, his gaze thoughtful. "An exchange," he said at last. "I happen to have a few materials on hand that might serve as suitable trade." Upon hearing this, the white-robed middle-aged man promptly produced another jade slip, clearly long prepared. "The items and medicinal pills desired by the crystal's owner are recorded within," he explained. "Though they may be somewhat more common than the materials Senior seeks, they are by no means easy to find in this world. Otherwise, the Thunderspirit crystal would already have changed hands. It is, after all, an ideal material for forging lightning attribute magic treasures." Han Li accepted the jade slip without hesitation and immersed his spiritual sense into it. The shopkeeper's eyes did not leave Han Li's face. He searched carefully for the slightest flicker of emotion, interest, hesitation, calculation, anything that might betray the man's thoughts. Yet Han Li's expression remained as placid as an ancient well, unfathomable and undisturbed. Instead of insight, the shopkeeper felt only a creeping apprehension. Just where did this Senior Han emerge from? He wondered inwardly. His appearance is youthful, yet the materials he seeks are so rare that even seasoned nascent soul cultivators seldom inquire after them. Though many nascent soul cultivators maintain youthful visages, most are women, and this man clearly pays no mind to outward refinement. Could he be a newly advanced nascent soul cultivator? He could sense Han Li's realm nascent soul without question, but he could not discern its precise depth. All he knew was that the spiritual pressure emanating from Han Li was markedly stronger than that of the early stage nascent soul cultivators he had encountered before. For that reason, he personally attended to Han Li with utmost caution. Though the hidden fortune pavilion stood upon formidable backing and need not overly flatter ordinary nascent soul cultivators, this man was no ordinary figure. A moment later, Han Li withdrew his spiritual sense and returned the jade slip. "I possess several of the items fellow Taoist Fu seeks," he said calmly. "However, before agreeing to any exchange, I must examine the Thunderspirit crystal. If its quality is lacking, I will not proceed." The shopkeeper considered briefly before smiling. "Of course, this is no trivial transaction. I shall send a sound transmission talisman to Senior Fu at once. Since he currently resides near the market, he may come personally and conduct the trade face to face." After a short pause of contemplation, Han Li nodded. "Very well. I too wish to meet this fellow Taoist Fu. The more Thunderspirit crystals I can obtain, the better. I would also like to know whether he possesses additional pieces. If this old man Fu had managed to secure such a rare material, perhaps he held more hidden treasures in reserve. In that case, please wait a moment, Senior Han. I will send word immediately." The shopkeeper saluted and swiftly departed. Left alone, Han Li finally turned his attention to the tea set before him. He lifted the cup and took a measured sip. The fragrance was subtle, yet lingering, and a faint warmth coursed through his meridians. The flavor was indeed uncommon refined, yet carrying a trace of wild mountain spirit. Before long, the shopkeeper returned. Han Li set down the teacup and regarded him thoughtfully. "I have heard," he began, "that your pavilion is renowned for producing hidden fortune rooms in abundance. Some say your highest-grade creations allow one to carry an entire cave residence within the palm of one's hand, complete with formidable restrictions woven into their structure. Is this true?" The shopkeeper chuckled lightly. "Hidden fortune rooms are indeed our specialty. However, what Senior describes are our finest works, hidden fortune mansions. These are refined from rare materials and are produced only in small numbers. The few that have been placed for sale have long since been purchased. We do retain several in storage, but none are currently available for direct purchase." Han Li raised a brow slightly. "Retained? Were they not crafted for sale?" A faint trace of embarrassment crossed the shopkeeper's face. "To be candid, the remaining hidden fortune mansions are of unparalleled quality. In terms of size and embedded restrictions, they far surpass those previously sold. It was therefore decided that they be reserved exclusively for exchange against exceptionally rare materials." Interest flickered within Han Li's eyes. "That is rather intriguing. If they are as remarkable as you claim, I may indeed be interested. Could you produce one for me to examine?" The shopkeeper's spirits surged. "Produce one," he repeated hurriedly. "Señor Mustiest, I am but a steward. I lack the authority to access such a treasure. Only with Elder Wang's permission may it be brought forth. Furthermore, we keep but a single hidden fortune mansion here at our main branch, and it is the pride of our pavilion. The others are distributed among different branches." He straightened slightly, pride coloring his voice. "This particular mansion was personally refined by our tool refinement grandmaster, Hua Yunzi. It ranks among the very finest of its kind. The restrictions embedded within it alone rival those of a high-grade ancient treasure. If Senior is sincerely interested, I can lead you to a concealed chamber where you may discuss matters directly with Elder Wang. As for the materials required for exchange, only he is authorized to determine them." From Han Li's tone, it seemed no idle curiosity. If this transaction succeeded, the shopkeeper's standing within the pavilion would soar. "So that is the case," Han Li began. "However, I shall have—" His words abruptly halted. His expression shifted ever so slightly. The shopkeeper blinked, startled, unsure what had changed. Then an aged yet resonant voice boomed from below. "Youngster Zhao, is it true someone wishes to make a trade? I was in a crucial juncture of my cultivation and cut it short to rush here." Though the voice bore the rasp of age, it carried tremendous vigor. Heavy, deliberate footsteps followed each thud, reverberating faintly through the pavilion. The shopkeeper hastily rose to his feet. "It is true, Senior Fu. I would not dare deceive you." A blur streaked across the staircase. In the next instant, a towering silhouette materialized upon the third floor. Han Li narrowed his eyes. The newcomer was a large, broad-shouldered old man, clad in black robes. His skin bore a dark crimson hue as though long tempered by blazing flames. Powerful spiritual fluctuations surged from his body without concealment. He was clearly at the peak of mid-nascent soul stage. Even Han Li felt a trace of surprise. The red-faced old man swept his gaze toward Han Li. A glimmer of astonishment appeared in his eyes at the sight of Han Li's youthful countenance paired with formidable cultivation. Then he strode forward with booming steps and laughed heartily. "So this is fellow Taoist Han. Since you possess what I seek, you can hardly be an ordinary cultivator." Han Li rose and returned the salute with a faint smile. "You overpraise me. Fellow Taoist Fu's cultivation commands my admiration." Old man Fu waved dismissively. "What is there to admire? I have merely walked a few more years upon this road." The two cultivators seated themselves opposite one another. Old man Fu wasted no time. "I will speak plainly. What items do you have for me?" Han Li's lips curved slightly. a scarlet essence mushroom over 1,000 years mature. This was not the 3,000-year specimen he had once traded for in Heavenly South. Rather, it had been nurtured from one of its spores, cultivated patiently until it reached 1,000 years of age. A scarlet essence mushroom. Old Man Fu's eyes brightened immediately. If it is truly over 1,000 years old, I will exchange my Thunderspirit crystal without hesitation. May I inspect it? Of course, Han Li replied evenly. I shall produce it at once, but I would also like to examine the crystal. Old Man Fu chuckled. Ah, I let eagerness get the better of me. Naturally. He turned toward the shopkeeper. Shopkeeper Zhao, bring the crystal for fellow Taoist Han. Yes, senior. The shopkeeper bowed and hurried from the hall. Old Man Fu then regarded Han Li with open curiosity. Fellow Taoist, Han, your appearance is unfamiliar to me, yet your cultivation has already reached mid-nascent soul stage. From where do you hail? Have you secluded yourself in bitter cultivation all these years? How else would I have no recollection of you despite your remarkable spiritual power? Han Li smiled calmly, clearly prepared for such questions. It is no wonder you have not heard of me. I cultivated upon a small island beyond the seas. I seldom set foot upon the great Jin mainland. Old Man Fu paused, then nodded in understanding. So you are an overseas cultivator. Admirable indeed. I have long heard that those beyond the seas command wondrous abilities, cultivating arts distinct from ours on the mainland. When opportunity allows, I would gladly exchange insights with you. Still, it seems you have traveled far, likely drawn by the grand auction soon to be held in the Jin Capital. The seas were vast and boundless. That unknown nascent soul cultivators dwelled there was hardly surprising. For the most part, Old Man Fu accepted the explanation. As they conversed further, footsteps approached once more from beyond the hall. A clear, resonant voice sounded with refined courtesy. Why was I not informed of Brother Fu's arrival at our hidden fortune pavilion? And we have fellow Taoist Han as our honored guest as well. I should have personally come to receive you. With those words, a pale, silver-robed cultivator stepped gracefully into the hall. When Old Man Fu caught sight of the silver-robed cultivator, his stern features immediately softened into familiarity. Hey, Brother Wang rarely shows himself, he called out warmly. I had thought you were still in secluded cultivation, refining your turtle spirit arts. How could I dare disturb you? The silver-robed man smiled faintly, though a trace of helplessness flickered through his eyes. I was forced to halt my cultivation at the 7th layer. I fear I shall never step into mid-nascent soul stage in this lifetime. He shook his head lightly, then continued. But I heard from shopkeeper Zhao that a fellow Taoist of mid-nascent soul cultivation had arrived, and that he even expressed interest in purchasing the hidden fortune mansion our pavilion has preserved for centuries. With Brother Fu honoring us with your presence as well, how could I remain absent? As he spoke, he turned toward Han Li and offered a courteous salute, his movements refined and unhurried. Hearing their exchange, Han Li immediately understood this was Elder Wang. He discreetly swept his spiritual sense over the man. Early nascent soul stage. His complexion was pale to the point of translucence, likely a side effect of some peculiar cultivation method. Beneath that calm exterior, however, lay tightly coiled spiritual power. Han Li smiled and returned the salute. Brother Wang is too courteous. I have long heard of the Hidden Fortune Pavilion's reputation and could not resist paying a visit. Old Man Fu clicked his tongue in surprise. Fellow Taoist Han wishes to exchange for a hidden fortune mansion. Indeed worthy of an overseas cultivator. Your magnanimity is impressive. It seems the rumors of boundless treasures beyond the sea are not unfounded. Han Li gave a modest smile. You overestimate those distant lands. Though there are rare materials overseas, how could they compare with the vast and fertile resources of the Jin Empire? The two nascent soul cultivators did not entirely believe him, but neither did they pursue the matter further. Probing too deeply into the origins of a high-level cultivator could easily breed suspicion, and that was no trivial affair. At that moment, shopkeeper Zhao reappeared behind Elder Wang. With careful movements, he placed 2 jade boxes upon the table before Han Li, one large, one small, then silently stepped aside. With Elder Wang present, there was no longer any need for him to intervene. Elder Wang gestured toward the larger box and said with gentle courtesy, "Since fellow Taoist Han shows such interest in our pavilion's hidden fortune mansion, I have had it brought together with fellow Taoist Fu's Thunderspirit crystal. You may examine whichever you wish first." Old man Fu chuckled. "Brother Wang, you shall have ample time to discuss your mansion. Let us conclude our business first." Elder Wang inclined his head with a tolerant smile. "Very well. Brother Fu did indeed arrive first. I confess I am also quite curious what treasure fellow Taoist Han intends to exchange for the Thunderspirit crystal." Han Li's lips curved faintly. With a light slap to his storage pouch, a palm-sized green wooden box appeared in his hand. Golden and silver talismans were affixed across its lid, sealing it securely. The moment old man Fu saw the box, his expression shifted ever so slightly. Han Li placed the wooden box upon the table and gently pushed it toward him. Old man Fu accepted it with undisguised anticipation. At the same time, he swept his sleeve across the table, sending the smaller jade box gliding toward Han Li. Han Li received it calmly and opened it. At once, a brilliant silver-white radiance burst forth, filling the room with dazzling light. Blue light shimmered faintly within Han Li's eyes. Through the glare, he saw clearly a fist-sized silver-white stone resting within, its surface faintly veined with flickering currents of lightning. He examined it in silence for a long while. Then he extended a finger. A thin strand of azure light coiled from his fingertip. With a subtle flick of his wrist, the thread shot forward and pierced toward the stone. The instant it touched, thunder roared. Crackling arcs of lightning erupted from the crystal, thin yet fierce, intercepting the azure thread mid-air. The room trembled faintly before stillness returned. Han Li withdrew his hand and sighed softly. "Yes, this is indeed Thunderspirit crystal." His tone carried a trace of regret. "A pity its quality is merely ordinary. Still, it will suffice." Old man Fu had by then finished examining the scarlet essence mushroom. A satisfied glow lingered in his eyes. "A high-quality specimen is no easy thing to obtain," he said frankly. "This crystal was discovered within the stomach of a rare lightning-attributed spirit beast. I only secured it after exhausting considerable effort." Han Li replied evenly, "Yet my scarlet essence mushroom is entirely pure, an unquestionable top-grade medicinal plant." Though he desired the crystal, he would not concede ground in negotiation. Old man Fu laughed openly. "Fair enough. In terms of value alone, my Thunderspirit crystal falls short of your 1,000-year scarlet essence mushroom. How about this? I will supplement the exchange with 30,000 spirit stones." Han Li chuckled and gently set the crystal back upon the table. "No need to be so hasty, fellow Taoist Fu." He retrieved a jade slip and handed it over. "Why not examine this list first? Perhaps you possess one of these items or know where one may be found. Should I acquire any of them, there will be no need for spirit stones." Old man Fu blinked in surprise. Fellow Taoist seeks other materials as well. He quickly immersed his spiritual sense into the jade slip. Meanwhile, Elder Wang's gaze lingered thoughtfully upon the scarlet essence mushroom in old man Fu's hand, his eyes flickering with calculation. Moments later, old man Fu withdrew his spiritual sense and gave Han Li a peculiar look. After brief hesitation, he spoke decisively. "I regret to disappoint you. These materials are exceedingly rare. I possess none. However, I can direct you to a place where you may find some of them." Han Li's eyes gleamed. "Does fellow Taoist refer to the upcoming grand auction?" Old man Fu burst into hearty laughter. "While the grand auction indeed offers rare treasures, it is unlikely to feature items of this caliber. Cultivators who possess such things rarely sell them for spirit stones. They prefer barter." Han Li's interest sharpened. "From your tone, it seems you speak of a more secretive gathering." Old man Fu's expression turned subtle. He began transmitting his words directly into Han Li's ears. Fellow Taoist Han is perceptive. It is not precisely secret, but neither is it public. Whenever the Decade Grand Auction convenes in the Jin Capital, other gatherings inevitably form around it. There are two principal ones. First, the open trade fair hosted by the righteous Tao sects within the markets. This is known to all. Second, an underground trade fair organized by the Devil Tao. At the latter, spirit stones are seldom used. Exchanges are conducted item for item, because the treasures traded there are extraordinarily rare and sometimes sensitive. The cultivation world officially prohibits it. Only those familiar with the undercurrents of our realm know of its existence. He paused meaningfully. As a foreign cultivator, access would be inconvenient for you. However, as part of our exchange, I can provide you with a referral. I believe you would profit greatly. He fixed Han Li with a steady gaze, awaiting his response. Han Li fell into contemplation. So that is how it is, he murmured. Then tell me, will these gatherings occur simultaneously? I would prefer not to miss the open fair while attending the underground one. Old Man Fu nodded. They occur concurrently. However, the rarest items of the underground fair are deliberately revealed only after the grand auction concludes. The more ordinary wares would not interest you in any case. Han Li considered only briefly before deciding. Very well, I shall accept your proposal. I am most interested in this underground trade fair. Old Man Fu's face brightened. Tens of thousands of spirit stones saved no small sum. Excellent. I see fellow Taoist Han is a straightforward man. On the final day of the grand auction, meet me outside the Hidden Fortune Pavilion. Their voice transmission ended. Though Elder Wang had heard nothing, his heart stirred faintly. Still, he maintained a gracious smile. With the Thunderspirit crystal and scarlet essence mushroom exchanged, Elder Wang clasped his hands politely. Congratulations on reaching agreement. Now, fellow Taoist Han, shall we examine our Hidden Fortune mansion? I must warn you, it will require far more than a single 1,000-year scarlet essence mushroom. Han Li smiled faintly. If it satisfies me, price is of no concern. Elder Wang's smile widened at the boldness of that statement. Since fellow Taoist speaks so decisively, I am convinced you are indeed from overseas. In that case, it will not be an issue to show you the mansion. Please follow me to a spatial pocket refined by our pavilion. There you may view the Hidden Fortune mansion in its entirety. Han Li's heart stirred and genuine astonishment flickered across his face. A spatial pocket. Elder Wang lightly patted his sleeve. What? Fellow Taoist has never heard of a sanctuary pocket. He gave a faint chuckle. Ah, of course. These secret techniques for creating spatial pockets were developed only 1,000 years ago within the Great Jin. As a foreign cultivator, it is only natural you would be unfamiliar. A faint, invisible ripple seemed to pass through the air as though the boundaries of space itself were quietly awaiting. Disturbance. That's all for today's content. See you in the next part. Support me by becoming a member. It will give me more motivation. Thank you so much.